Hello and welcome to the Summer of Soccer. I'm Noah Gross of KXAN here in Austin, Texas, and we are gearing up for the 2026 Men's World Cup here in North America. I've been trying to think of a word stronger than excitement to describe just how fans are feeling for this tournament because everyone is so juiced for this summer. The American Outlaws is the biggest supporter group in the United States. They support the U.S. women's and men's national teams equally, and they are 25,000 members strong and definitely growing. They have over 200 local chapters of various sizes from Anchorage, Alaska to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and even Macon, Georgia, everywhere in between. They are all over. To start our journey learning about AO, we catch up with Casey Hill, the president of the Austin chapter, to learn more about a big, growing, and passionate chapter of the American Outlaws. Okay, so Portland, Salt Lake, Austin are the three places I've heard of so far. How does that affect your fandom? Like, are you a Timbers fan first? I know you're an Austin FC fan. Who do you root for in soccer here?
Yeah, everybody asks me that, and I always just say, I hope they have fun.
No, you can't. What a cop
I know,
out.
that's traitorous. But listen, I love them all for different reasons. The great part about that is that I can love the U.S. team and love them all there.
There you go.
So that's where we win with AO.
Okay, how long have you been in Austin?
I've been here since 2015.
Okay, and how did you get involved? I think you said your first time seeing AO was in Salt Lake, but how did you get involved with them to now become a chapter president here in Austin?
Yeah, when I was in Salt Lake, I was blown away by the AO chapter fandom. Like, I met a whole bunch of people there. They did a player event. I was able to go speak with some of the players. That was super exciting for me, and I was just like, wow, I was awestruck, honestly. Like, it's kind of silly looking back, like, I was such a fangirl. And so yeah, I joined and I just continued my membership. And then when I moved here, it's so simple to find AO. You just like Instagram search or Google search, and I knew there was a US game coming, so I happened to come on a night that it was packed because it was a World Cup qualifying match that we were showing. And we had so many people here, and I was just like, yes, I'm so glad, you know. So I came and immediately, like, you can just transfer your membership when you move cities. So I was just an automatic member over here, and I just became friends with everybody. I really like trying to include people when I am somewhere new. So they just kind of noticed me walking up. The previous leaders would notice me, like, going up to say, hi, welcome in, like, so glad to have you here. And so they just kind of were like, hey, do you want to join us? And I was like, I would love to. And so I've just kind of been part of membership with Austin for 5 or 6 years, and just this year became president.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you kind of take me through a little bit of what entails being president? I assume it's a little bit crazy in a World Cup year right now in such a crazy soccer city, but like, what are some of the things that you deal with as president?
Yeah, so a big piece that is very important to us is, of course, growing the community. Right now we have a huge fan base that is primarily, you know, millennials. We're trying to expand that to like college kids, to younger kids. So one of my big pieces as president is trying to go out and trying to create a welcoming environment where people know that we want them here and we want to share the sport with everyone. And so that is a big piece of that. We also want to be known as helping our community, which is why we team up with AO Impact often. We're so blessed to have Jackie here because, you know, they are national, but having her support in your own city is priceless. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Throwing the watch parties is always fun. We try to make it fun and exciting for everyone. Something special that our chapter does is that anytime a goal happens for the men's or the women's team, we buy the whole bar that's watching the game a Jello shot. That's something special to our chapter. That's something that I've kept. It was created long before me, but it's a tradition that has rolled on. So we just try to do, that's part of my piece too, is just trying to make sure that people are still here, people are wanting to be here. And yeah, just trying to make sure that everybody's having a good time.
If they're playing a pretty inferior opponent, Jello shots could rack up. Have they hit like double digits at any point?
I don't think we've hit double digits. The women's matches can get pretty brutal.
Yeah, some of the group stage ones.
The women's matches are always like 4-0, 4-1.
Everyone's having a good time by the end.
We once it gets past 4, we start doing every other shot.
That, I think for safety's sake, that
Yes.
makes sense. As somebody that's seen different soccer cities, having soccer in this city just makes sense. It's not just Austin FC. Like when the national teams come here, it's rocking. And they both talk about how much they love coming here. From your perspective, what makes this such a good soccer city as it continues to grow?
USA! USA!
Yeah, the people here have just embraced live soccer especially, which is something that is really a blessing for AO when we are having games here, because our fan section is so incredibly loud and supportive, and the players love that. That's why they pick, our team often, and Austin FC as like one of their favorite stadiums. The weather, minus the summer months,
yes,
is pretty brutal, but for the most part, the weather is really amenable, so it's really great for soccer in that sense. As far as like why it's so wonderful for the people, I mean, it's a great sport. You fall in love with it. You watch, it's beautiful. When you start to understand all the intricacies, and when you see the special players that see a play and make it happen, it's just magical. And so I think once people start to, I think it kind of brings people in because of the community, and then it sucks them in because of the beauty of the game. And it just happens naturally. And being in a city where we are so diverse, with people that love this, it can commingle, that it just explodes.
It's calm in Haymaker right now. This bar in Austin is nice and quiet. This summer, what is it going to be like at some of the watch parties in Austin? Are you anticipating it? Is it going to be rocking? How early are you going to get here before matches?
Yes, so typically me as president will get here 2 to 3 hours, because we set up and decorate and make it all pretty and exciting for you guys. The bar will typically open an hour and a half before the match. I mean, and that's sometimes even if it's like at 8 in the morning, they'll open at 6:30 so that people can get in here. When we had the 2022 World Cup, we had people lined up outside this bar at 5 in the morning. It was, it's going to be packed. It's going to be super energetic. We are working on teaming up with a bunch of people. Hopefully, we're just in the process of that planning right now, but we're going to try to have few sponsors to do giveaways and drink specials and stuff like that as well, to make it super exciting for everyone, not just to come to watch, but to be able to immerse into the game as well.
Anything you think we missed about what makes Austin, this chapter, special? Anything else you want to hit on?
Yeah, I think our chapter is super special because it's really become a family. We have quite a few members that have been members for a long time. And so it's really great that they keep coming back. And when you walk in the door and somebody's like, oh, hey, it's nice to see you, and you get a big hug from somebody, they keep returning. That makes it really special. And we really try to reach out to the community. Last year, or I guess continuing into this year, we've done quite a few fundraisers with our watch parties, including for flood victims, for the food bank, for the Humane Society. We raffled off jerseys. We've done 50-50 raffles. We've done so much, and we want to pour our love out into the community, which I think is what helps differentiate us a little bit. All chapters aim to do that, but this chapter in particular has put that kind of like the center of us, because we want to do more. So that makes us special. Memberships, we like to invite people, and because we do, I wanted to dub you a new AO fan with our last year's soccer scarf as a gift from us.
I don't have to do anything else?
Nothing else. You can do that. That's for you from AO.
I'm ready to scream at some of the matches this summer.
We would love to have
Lose your voice, everything like that.
That has happened to me before, yes.
I bet. All right. Casey, running the Austin chapter. She has a new fan here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, admittedly, I forgot to wear the scarf, but it is a great design by Casey and Company. Also based in Austin is Jackie Garrett, the director of American Outlaws Impact, the philanthropic arm of AO. Jackie, of course, works with all chapters, not just Austin, and she loves soccer and helping out, to say the least. Each community makes an impact in a different way, so let's hear from Jackie on the change they work to make. Let's start general here. AO Impact, I know there's so much you guys do, and you're in charge of a lot of things, but can you kind of describe AO Impact to us, and then we'll kind of dive in more specifically?
100%. So American Outlaws started, and AO Impact was not part of that in the beginning. It really was just a supporter group for the U.S. men and women. And when you go overseas to watch other games, it is a completely different atmosphere than it is in the U.S. I think MLS games, sometimes their fan sections are phenomenal, but that's one section. Overseas, it is the entire stadium, knows every word to every chant, and it is a different kind of. So that was really, I think, part of the heart of American Outlaws, to really support our U.S. men and women. And as things went on, they realized that, man, we can make a bigger impact, hence the name AO Impact. And they started really thinking that the different chapters across the United States could give back to the communities in which they are part of. And who better to know what the needs are there than the local chapter? So AO Impact is a community-focused, nonprofit philanthropic arm of American Outlaws.
Can you kind of take me through how you guys go about that, and maybe anything else you guys kind of target as well?
In different chapters across the United States, for example, Houston has a chapter that gives back every time there is a either watch party at their bar where they're not hosting the game but everybody gets together, or there is a night before party where they're actually having a game potentially in Houston and people are coming in from out of town. That's why that city has the night before party. They ask everybody to bring a donation of shampoo, conditioner, body soap, anything that is like a travel size item that they then take to the children's shelter there. So when kids are put into the shelter, they don't have those things. And so they give them a little gift bag. So they have really connected with that organization in their community as part of AO Impact. Sometimes it's in a whole different way. And so like St. Louis has their own MLS team, and they have the American Outlaws chapter there. So in January every year, they're called the Luligans. That's the St. Louis fan support. They play the American Outlaws chapter in a game. And the price of the game is a can of goods. So they have donated over £1,000 to the St. Louis food bank there. And they want to do it in January because they feel like in December, a lot of times that gets depleted for families. So we try to really look at what the needs are, not just the soccer needs, which we do as well. But in this situation, sometimes we try to look at the whole needs of the city because we want everyone to feel welcome and everyone to kind of know who we are. So if you stay in your own community, you oftentimes don't always reach the people that you could bring in to love the game.
This must be so interesting for you because you're Texas-based. Obviously, you have roots all over the state, but you're organizing stuff. Just looking at AO, you guys have branches everywhere in places a lot of people wouldn't expect. How cool is it for you to see, oh, in this state or this city I might not have ever been to, they're still organizing this through soccer? Like, what is that like for you to see the impact soccer can have with your guys' help in all these different places?
I love it because that is where, like, as a social worker at heart, where what I did for my career, kind of the second chapter in my life has been focused to be able to give back to the communities in different ways than through victim services. So I feel like it's so interesting to talk to these chapter presidents because they're volunteers, they're not paid, and they're passionate about soccer, but they're just as passionate about giving back. And I love their enthusiasm about AO Impact and what we can do together. So part of my job is to look at all the organizations in their community and say, look, these are the things that I have found. You guys as a chapter have the autonomy to decide what you want to do. Giving them that autonomy as a group, they pick great things. Or sometimes they'll say, actually, we love what you presented, but we know of this soccer camp that we want to sponsor a kid. I love that. Like, so any way that they choose, I am there to support that and to try to make that as seamless as possible. Because again, they have other jobs, families, commitments, and so I'm there to try to help facilitate that and make it as smooth as possible, even if I'm not present in that city.
It's heartwarming and kind of shows the power of sport. And then I wanted to ask, someone watching right now might be a soccer fan, might not be, wherever they are, what's the easiest way, to get involved? It could be to join their local chapter and find out through that way. I know you guys have information online as well, but what do you think is the easiest way to get involved, maybe make an impact in their community through soccer as well?
It would be great to join the American Outlaws because of the community and the ability to kind of understand what's happening. We, a lot of times, are very much have the pulse on soccer in that community because of the level of passion and the level of understanding of the game. I think also one of the things folks can do is if they don't have a chapter in their area, they can still give to AO Impact. We take either one-time donations or because it begins with 11 players, we ask for $11 a month donation. And we use that money to give to other charities, other organizations that are doing great things in communities around the United States. So that is a way that you can definitely give back and know that your money will go directly to a charity or a soccer organization that matters in those communities.
As we get ready for the Men's World Cup here coming to North America this summer, has there been, in your view, like a growing intensity and like fandom? Like, how has this affected AO Impact? Has there been more involvement? What has this been like as far as your view leading up to the World Cup this summer?
A lot of organizations have wanted to partner with the American Outlaws because they know that we show up, we're loud, we're passionate, we care. And so I think that has maybe given us a little more visibility than we have. It's always fascinating to me when I meet really avid soccer players who have no idea that American Outlaws exist. And it's not a bad thing that on their part, it's no fault of theirs. It's just sometimes we get in our group and we don't really understand or know who is who and who supports what. And so it kind of has given us an opportunity to say, hey, come along for the ride. We'd love to have you. And that's great for us. For soccer in this country, I think it has put a spotlight on some areas where we've excelled in soccer, where we have grown, and where we still can go. So U.S. Soccer has realized that as well, and they have a program called Soccer Forward. And they have invited us to come along to some of their things that they do as well. And that really is grassroots, where our heart is and theirs is. And I think that will continue to grow. And I think part of that is as a result of the World Cup being here.
Anything you think we missed that you think is important to the AO Impact branch of AO?
I think what I want people to know is that we really have a heart for the community and giving back through soccer, because I think it's so powerful. At different times in our lives, I think soccer has meant a lot to people for all different kinds of reasons. But I think people come back again and again when it's a sport where there's a teammate and how those things have impacted people over time. I think AO Impact, as we age, we don't play anymore. Like, we need to find a space for that passion, and AO Impact and American Outlaws gives people that opportunity to come together around something that we all love and still talk about it and still, get out there and kick the ball around if we can. There's also a women's thing called the Legends Cup that just started, and it is for women 18 to 80. And I actually went there as part of AO Impact, and they were having teams of 70 and 80-year-old women playing. And these women were not privy to Title IX, so their opportunity to play was none. And so now that they're older, they have this opportunity, and they're wonderful. It was so much fun. It was really amazing that soccer can be such a great bringer together. That's not even a word, but it really brings people together. Despite any differences that we may have in the world right now, it's a place where you can go and you don't know shoulder to shoulder who or what they think, but you can come together in this space and support this team together. So I love that, the beauty of that.
In that match you were just talking about, 18 to 80, when you went, did you play? Or
I
you
did.
Just, okay.
I was so sore I could barely walk to the plane. I was dying. And it was just a really cool event. And they have them now. They're going to have another one in August in another city. So I think the attention that a World Cup brings in your country can really change the face of soccer for that country. And I mean, our motto is change the game together. And I love that.
All right, Jackie, thank you so much. We'll be right back after this. All right, now for a larger scope, we continue our exploration of AO, learning about the American Outlaws, speaking with the chapter management lead, and that is Trevin Worm. He's a big soccer fan in Lincoln, Nebraska, and is here to give insight on the largest U.S. soccer supporter group.
We support the men's and women's teams equally. So we have a section in the stadium at each game, men's and women's. So we'll have the drums, we have banners that we hang up, chants that we do. Before each game, there's a night before party. So in whatever city, that's almost always at the chapter bar for that particular city. So for example, in Austin, it's Haymakers. So people meet there the night before the game. And then before the game, we do a tailgate, big party, and then kind of march to the stadium.
For your background, how long have you worked with the organization?
I've worked for AO for a little over a year now, but I've been a member of AO for over 10 years.
The communal aspect of the sport, I feel like, is unique to soccer and the way it can bring communities and people together to watch. What was your first experiences watching with AO, and as this organization was growing, what was that like to kind of see it from where it was to where it is now?
Yeah, in 2014, like I said, that was the first time I really started to go to events with AO here in Lincoln. I remember there was the first game against Ghana, and Clint Dempsey scored a goal in like the first minute, and the place just went absolutely insane. Random people were hugging each other, cheering, yelling, screaming, jumping up and down, and just being like, wow, this is kind of an amazing thing that I didn't really know existed in my own city, let alone something that started here in Lincoln. And then going through the years, we've grown much bigger. Our support network has grown. And then, in 2018, the men didn't qualify for the World Cup, and that was a huge hit for us. But people stuck together, kept watching games, kept going to our chapter bars to watch games, and like you said, kept that communal aspect.
What's the biggest chapter? And then I think they have to hit 35 was according to your website to qualify. So I
Correct.
assume those are the smallest. So how does it kind of range from what I assume is like maybe not the biggest in like Anchorage, Alaska versus some of these in like New York and Dallas?
Oh yeah, so we have the biggest chapters in DC, which makes sense as the nation's capital, and they host quite a bit of games. So the East Coast, DC, Boston, New York are our biggest chapters. Here in Lincoln, we have a really big chapter. Austin's a big chapter, and then you go down the list. We've got chapters in Covington, Louisiana. We've got chapters that are really active in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Fox Valley, Wisconsin. So they sort of run the gamut in size and personality. All of our chapters kind of have their own little logo that reflects the local culture or reflects something about the place they are. And it just sort of changes with the personality of the city that they're in, which I always really like, because it's fun to go to visit those other chapter bars and see what that's like, see what that crowd is like, because it's different all across the U.S.
Can you take me through a little bit of the different energy and different feeling from what you were talking about a couple World Cups ago where the U.S. didn't qualify to now? Not only is there a groundswell of belief in the U.S. team because of talent, but hosting it, can you just take me through how you felt then and maybe how that makes you appreciate where you guys are now?
Yeah, so obviously in 2018, when we didn't qualify for the Men's World Cup, that was a huge blow. And then with the most recent Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, they kind of bowed out early. That was also really disappointing. But the thing that always gave me hope about that too is after you don't qualify and then you go to this World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, we had people coming to our chapter bar in Lincoln at 4 a.m., at 2 a.m. To come watch those games, and just seeing that community aspect of it and seeing people come together. And then now having the World Cup here in the United States is super, super exciting. It's the biggest honor you can have in soccer. Obviously, the ticket prices are really disappointing, and the lack of access for fans is really disappointing. But the thing that I love about AO is it kind of gives communities, no matter where they are in the U.S., a place to gather, a place to watch the game, a place to really feel like you're getting that experience of going to the game with people screaming and yelling and just having a great time, and having these really welcoming atmospheres all across the U.S.
Is that something you've been hearing from your group members in a number of different chapters that, yeah, I mean, they would all love to go to games, but the fact that it's kind of more expensive, this is a great alternative to be able to have that community aspect?
Yeah, we've heard from so many people the disappointment with FIFA and just how this whole ticketing process has been run and the ticket prices. But that is sort of the upside that we do have, is we have this kind of built-in community where you can gather with your friends, even if you can't go to the game, or even if you travel to LA or Seattle where the US is playing. You can take in that atmosphere, go to their chapter bar, watch the game there, and still feel like you're hosting a World Cup. I think that's the thing that people are most disappointed in, is with the ticket prices, with the lack of access, they don't feel like we're actually hosting a World Cup. So we're trying to give communities that experience of what is this like, what should be the biggest celebration for soccer in this country.
It's such a massive event that I'm sure you've been building toward for so long. Is it, with the World Cup nearing, dread and like how is this going to actually happen when it's coming up? Is there excitement? You've been talking about it for so long, you don't want it to actually be here. What's your mental state with this thing actually coming up now?
Oh man, that's another really good question. I think there's a lot of optimism around the team. Certainly, just they feel like they're kind of gelling a little bit more than they were. They feel like they're on a good run. So there's that optimism of how the team's going to do. And as soon as that first ball is kicked, you're going to feel that excitement of the World Cup's actually here. So I would say there's a lot more excitement and especially since it's getting closer, people are getting a little more excited to actually see it happen. Obviously, there's the issues with tickets, the issues with access, but as soon as people see that ball go, it's just gonna get rolling from there. I mean, I think the biggest benefit of this organization is knowing that you could go pretty much any city in the U.S. and you could be welcomed into a chapter bar if there's a game going on. So if you check the U.S. schedule for the men's and women's team, you have a conference in Chicago, you can look up that chapter bar and go, or you're in Miami for vacation, you can look up that chapter bar and head there. So it's just this community of people that just love soccer all across the U.S. And that's just it's a unique thing for sports here in the U.S. and we love being a part of it and we love welcoming new people in.
Thanks to Trevin, Casey, and Jackie for speaking with us. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Noah Gross of KXAN here in Austin, Texas, and we hope you enjoy the summer of soccer.